Greetings to our Skylight friends and family. We hope you are all well and safe and sound. We are in very challenging and troubling times right now, and we hope that we can all do the work that needs to be done to come together with respect and empathy and truly take care of one another. We also hope that as an arts organization, we can offer some escape, solace, beauty, and sure, humor, a great medicine. Speaking of beauty and humor, our guest tonight is none other than Michael "Ding" Lorenz, who is Skylight's house percussionist and the orchestra contractor. And he's been a fixture at Skylight for a very long time. And without further ado, let's bring Mike "Ding" Lorenz onto the screen.
Hey there.
How are you, Mike?
Good. How about you?
I'm good. It's great to see you. I hope you're holding up okay in all this craziness.
Yeah, I just want to play gigs. I want to get back to doing what we do.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about your history as a percussionist. When did it start? How did it happen?
Oh, what do you think? Okay. Well, let's see. I started playing drums when I was about 6 years old. There I am. Wasn't I a little cutie pie?
You were. You still are.
Yeah, and look at the drum. It's almost bigger than me. That, I believe, was when I was about 7. And I started out playing in marching groups, in drum and bugle corps. There were a ton of them all over the country. Lots of them here in Milwaukee. And you started with a small little corps. You started working your way up. When I was 11, I joined the national champion Cavaliers Drum and Bugle Corps in Chicago, which was really pretty unheard of. I was driving, my father drove me back and forth to Chicago at least once a week. 11 years old. That was in the fall of '63. The summer of '64, when I was 12, I actually got on a bus with those guys and went cross country, spent a couple of weeks traveling with them. And please understand, I was 12 years old. The next oldest kid was probably about 14. Most of the guys in the Corps were 17, 18, 19, 20. And you had this little 12-year-old punk from Milwaukee with a smart mouth. And you grow up very quickly. I played, I did the whole drum corps thing until I was about 15. Started playing drum set when I was about 13. And I quit drum corps at 15 to start playing professionally. First of all, my first professional band was a 9-piece R&B band called the Soul Review. We played all over the place. Actually, there's a picture in there someplace, maybe the next one.
Wait, before we go there, what was your first percussion memory? Pots and pans in your mom's kitchen, which we're going to see comes into your life later. What was your first percussion memory?
Well, I just always wanted to play the drums. And my first percussion memory was my father drove me to Chicago to this guy who sold drums and bugles to drum corps. And my dad spent $10 and bought me that drum that's in that picture. And my first memory is driving back with him in the car and just beating the crap out of that drum. And my father just saying, Mike, please stop. I have to drive, whatever it was.
Okay. So take us through the next stages.
Okay. So that was me at about 15 or 16 years old playing with the Soul Review. The Flower Pot was a bar out in Waukesha that we played at from time to time.
I don't think you're old enough to be in that bar, Dan.
No, but you do what you do. And so that was me.
It's a gig, right?
It's a gig. Yeah, it's a gig. And then eventually, you go from one band to another. In 1969, I joined a band from Waukesha called the Bloomsbury People, and we recorded an album on MGM. I spent the summer of 1970, I would have been 18, traveling all over the country, playing rock festivals, played the Atlanta Pop Festival, We were an upcoming group, so we were on the afternoon, but at night on the July 4th weekend, I got to see Jimi Hendrix do the Star Spangled Banner with fireworks going off. It was
Wow.
astounding. And a couple months later, he was
Did you
dead.
record it on your iPhone?
No, I did not record that. Yeah, I'm 18 years old, traveling all over the country, and that would have been more kind of early 70s then.
You can tell from the hair.
From the hair, yep, getting a little older there, and after high school, I started studying orchestral percussion at the Wisconsin Conservatory of Music. They had actually a college program, and that's when I met and started studying with Telly Lesbines, who was the timpanist with the Milwaukee Symphony. Very shortly thereafter, right out of high school, started subbing, playing extra with the Milwaukee Symphony, playing different shows. That was just another band in the 70s that I played with. And then now that is in 1982, I hooked up with a show out of Nashville, Tennessee called Mr. Jack Daniel's Original Silver Cornet Band. Was with them for about 10 years. And that was, we played at the White House on July 4th in 82. And I was the mallet player, played ragtime xylophone and bells and traveled all over the country. We spent about 6 months out of the year on the road. And when I wasn't with them, I was back here in Milwaukee, working at Skylight, working with the symphony, working different gigs, and so on and so forth.
So educate us. What's the difference between a drummer and a percussionist, if any?
When you're young and you're a drummer, you like to be called a percussionist. Now, as you get older, as I am, I'm a percussionist. I just like to be called a drummer. Now the difference is, a drummer is a drummer. He plays drums. And a percussionist would be somebody who plays all of the various percussion instruments.
So all drummers are percussionists, but not all percussionists are drummers. Is that a true fact?
I kind of go the opposite. I would say
you're the authority, not me.
All percussionists are pretty much drummers because everybody plays drums. Everybody starts on drums.
Gotcha.
But not all drummers are percussionists.
Got it.
If that makes sense.
So tell us about how you got to Skylight and when that was and sort of the history of Skylight.
Yeah, my first show I played with Skylight was in 1972. It was a show called The Rise and Fall of the City of Mahogany. And Skylight would put on shows occasionally at the old PAC, what's now the Marcus Center, we used to call the Performing Arts Center. And some of it was a summer operetta festival. This one was in the winter time. And it was Claire Richardson. That was he was a PR guy. So he was always after good public relations. And the big thing about the rise and fall of the city of Mahogany was there was nudity. I don't know. I never saw it. I was in the pit. But yeah, so that was the very first show I played with them. Then I did a couple more shows on the Summer Operetta Festival. Late 70s, I played my first show at the Old Space, which was the Carlisle Floyd opera, Susanna. And that was just eye-opening, and it just opened up my musical horizons, that show. And to this day, I love that show. And then what really started the whole thing was about 1985 or 1986. Diane Kockelmeyer was hiring musicians for Skylight. She brought me in to play a show, this Bernstein Reviewed, this review of Leonard Bernstein shows. And from then on, I then pretty much became Skylight's percussionist, and whenever I was available. And that was mid-'80s, so I was still traveling about 6 months a year with Jack Daniel's band. And then when that ended in 92, then I just started doing all of the shows that needed percussion at Skylight. About 2000, somewhere around there, I became the orchestra contractor, and we put that all into one position, staff percussionist and orchestra contractor, and I became a member of the staff at Skylight, and that was 19 years ago.
And do you know how many shows you've done? I thought when you said 2000, that was the number of shows you've done at Skylight. How many shows have you done at Skylight? Do you know that number?
Yeah. Well, I started on staff in year 2000, somewhere around there, or 2001. I've done something like about 140 productions at Skylight. It's been a lot of shows. That's thousands of shows.
That is amazing. So let's go through some of your Skylight favorites. We have some pictures here of shows that you've been doing. So take us through some of these beautiful pictures.
Oh yeah, that was Blues in the Night. I did a little vibraphone solo, and if you that was Liz Baltus holding the rose, and then up above is Jamie Johns at the piano. That was just a wonderful show. Blues in the Night was. I can't recall the year. That's just me sitting down in the orchestra pit.
That's your office, right?
That's my office at Skylight. Yep. I don't know what show. Have no idea.
Could be any.
Could be any. Yes, one of my favorite of all time. That was the Gershwin show, Lady Be Good. So I'm on the right. Notice I'm looking a little younger then. It was all in the 20s, Gershwin. It was just a fabulous show. Next to me is Jack Forbes Wilson, who was the music director on that show, and Logan Brown was the other piano player. And oh my God, Norman Moses was in the show, and Becky, and all these Ray was in it, and it was just a fabulous show. Yes, okay, now we have Tales of Hoffman, Joanna Ponasek's opera, and it was two pianos and a harpist in the middle, and that whole back platform was me with the hat on. And that was a really cool production. Very, very cool stuff. And
make sure we got a lot of real estate for when Ding's on stage.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Joanna loves percussion. And there we go. That was La Caja Fall and I'm there with my partner Carolyn. And we've got two of the what did they call the ladies?
Flaming Girls?
No, they were the ladies that were in drag, and I can't recall what.
I mean the Cajal.
Cajal.
Okay.
Thank you. Yes.
All right. Cool. Okay, so now that brings us to the infamous and famous show Things That Go Ding.
Right.
So tell us when, how, what, like what's the
Sure. Okay, how that whole thing started was Jamie Johns and I. Jamie was on staff. We started just talking about doing some little cabaret show with piano and me playing a bunch of percussion. And we started developing some ideas. And then here at my place where I live, in this old schoolhouse in Oak Creek, we had a cast party. We were talking about with someone in the cast, and I can't recall who it was. We were telling them about this medley we were going to do that was like, I was going to play some bells and different songs that had bells, and we were calling that little medley Things That Go Ding. And this cast member looked at us and I went, no. That should be the name of the show. And Jamie and I looked at each other and went, oh, of course. So that became the name of the show. Then we talked. As it developed, then we made the decision to add a singer-comedian, which of course had to be Ray Jivoff. And so that was the cast. And we did our first cabaret show, which would have been in 2000, I think it's 2009. And that was up in the bar. And that was a picture of the first cabaret show. We opened it up And we did 5 shows, I believe, because I think it was a run of an opera. By the time we had the 2nd or 3rd show, it was standing room only in the cabaret. People just loved the show. And then a year or 2 later, then we did the studio version. It was a full-length show down in the Black Box. And that sold out. We did 11 shows, and it virtually sold out the entire run. And then we waited a couple of years. We did then a Christmas version of Things That Go Ding back up in the bar. And my old buddy, Jack Forbes Wilson, played piano because Jamie Johns was out on the road with Phantom of the Opera. So we did that run. That was a blast. And then we waited a couple more years. And then this last year, of course, we did the Cabbage Show, that one. And every show got bigger and bigger and bigger. Yeah, the setup on that show was pretty outrageous.
How long did it take you to set up the stage?
It was off and on for the better part of a week.
And I see you took out some seats because you couldn't fit on stage. Is that true?
Yes, well, I wanted to do.
You're in the front.
I did.
Removed a row of seats.
We removed 3 rows of seats. We took out 24 seats. In the studio show, I did a solo number with this handpan called a kaisa. And it was just so intimate, so much fun. And I was like right out in the audience. And I just had to duplicate that somehow. So when I designed the set, I worked it out. So we removed the first 3 rows. And then I set up the whole kaisa setup down in the audience. And I was within inches of...
Wait, don't give away the kaisa yet.
Okay.
Let's take a look at the opening number.
Okay.
Viennese style.
Oh, yeah.
Take it, Johann.
That's so great. Do you know how many instruments you had on the stage?
Hundreds, literally hundreds. It was insane.
Okay. So here's a good question.
Hey,
Hi,
Carmen.
How did you learn to read music? The core?
Yeah, actually, from when I was a little kid. We back in drum corps, the music was all written out and you learned it. And I started reading music from the very beginning.
Can you tell us about the woman who appeared in the show? A little bit about this opera singer who lost her voice or something? Tell me about her, please.
Yeah, well, that was Carmen Marimba, and
Repeat the last name.
Carmen Marimba.
Ah, got it. Good.
Yes, and the whole idea is we wanted to do a tribute to Mr. Rogers, and Ray Jibboff did a fabulous tribute, both in the studio show and in the cabaret show. And the whole idea was to bring out this opera singer who had laryngitis, and that was me. And you can tell how beautiful I look, by the way, in drag.
Yeah.
And yeah, and the whole idea is you know, I have laryngitis, I can't sing, but I've searched the world all over to find just the right instrument to play the beautiful aria, the habanera from Carmen.
And here we go.
Big finish.
You are virtuosic on the taxi horns. So I love the trills. That is hilarious. So, Ding, how do you find tuned taxi horns?
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah.
Did you have to tune them yourself?
No. They're made in Germany.
It's a thing.
Company,
you can get that. That's a thing.
You can get, yeah. And that's the full set of 25 that they make. Mm-hmm.
Oh my God! So
you go searching. I search all over the world for weird instruments.
Yeah.
So, should we answer that question?
No, you should.
I should. Oh. Well, there were so many really fun things to do, but I really think, again, it was jumping off the stage and coming down right into the middle of the audience, within inches of the audience, and then doing the Kaisa number, the solo number. It was the studio show. I mean, it was the only serious number in the entire show and it's what people all talked about. And in the Cabot show, there were so many outrageous things, but a lot of people as well talked about the Kaisa number. It was very intimate, and you just locked into yourself and with the vibe of the audience and fed off the energy of the audience, and it was amazing.
That's a great intro to our next video.
Okay.
It really is incredible. So I'm not sure if you could see from the video, a Kaisa looks like a big round tin can. So how does it have all those pitches in that one piece of metal?
Okay, basically what a Kaisa is, well, it's not even a Kaisa. Kaisa is one type of a category of percussion instruments called hand pans. And a pan is a slang for a steel drum. And a hand pan is a steel drum that you play with your hands instead of mallets. And it was first invented in Switzerland, in Bern, Switzerland. And that the original instrument was called a hung. And then they're made pretty much all over the world. And you play them with your hands. And they're not, many of these, there are a few that are chromatic, but like that particular one only has so many notes. And it's a scale, or what we call sometimes a mode. It's just a real, I found that particular Kaisa on a trip to Vienna. And I walked into a world music store, and I had been looking for one all over the place. And there it was. They had just gotten it in from this company in Dortmund, Germany that makes it. And I sat down and played it, and that was it. I bought it and came home with it.
So I'm told you have a couple of percussion instruments at your house. Is this true?
That would be the understatement of the world, yes.
How many instruments do you have in your home at this very moment?
At this very moment?
Yeah.
Now, that would be my home, which would not include probably my attached garage and
attach the garage. Let's do the garage too.
Oh, the whole thing.
Whole collection.
Okay. At least 2,000 or 3,000.
I am told you are it's one of the largest percussion collections in the world. Is this true?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's insane. It's somewhat of an addiction, but it's a healthy addiction. I mean, I've always been pretty conservative with my funds and so on. I don't not eat so I can buy more instruments. But it's a very cool thing to collect. It collects sounds, and again, I travel all over the world looking for weird, interesting items.
What's your favorite item in your collection of percussion instruments?
Really hard to say. That's really tough. Although, man, if I want to sit down and just get lost in something, I'll pull out the Kaisa. The Kaisa is one of those things that just kind of becomes part of you when you're playing it. Yeah. So anyway,
that's great. Cool. All right. So shortly after I first got to Skylight last September, didn't you drive to Georgia to pick up an instrument or something?
Yes, that would have been. I drove down to North Carolina to pick up a set of aluphones. And this is a kind of an odd instrument of, there are these aluminum kind of bells. There was a gentleman down there that had a rental service, and he would rent the instrument, and his main thing was when Evelyn Glennie would come to the United States, he would provide all the instruments for Evelyn and travel around with her. And now Evelyn is a very aggressive percussionist. And I was a little concerned because she was the only one that had played this instrument, that what kind of condition it was in. But when I got there, it was in just perfect condition. Yeah. So yeah, I drove down to North Carolina, made that happen. That would have been right after
Oklahoma, right?
No, I think that was after the Christmas show.
Oh, okay. All right.
What was the Christmas show last year? Newsies. Yes. It was Newsies.
So tell us a little bit about your work outside of Skylight. You play Broadway shows, right?
Sometimes? Yeah, I do. Whenever the touring shows come into the Marcus Center that need a local percussionist, I'm first call there. Been doing that for Lord knows how many years. And that's terrific. That is, when you go into a show like that, you are you go in, we do one rehearsal, a short sound check, and we open all on the same day of a Broadway show. And you got to be prepared. You got to be able to nail that show. And that's fun. And to work with those caliber musicians and conductors and cast, to go in there and do it, that is just a blast.
Ding, did I hear you say that you first played a Broadway show when you were still in high school?
Yes. That was when I was at Bayview High School. My very first show was Brigadoon. That was the first thing I played. They used to do an operetta. And I was in the pit for that one, and that was it. It's just like, wow, I love this. This is terrific, being in the pit for a Broadway show.
We have one more clip from Things That Go Ding.
Okay.
The final number.
Ah, yes.
A needle pulling thread. La, a note to follow. So, tea, a drink with jam and bread. That will bring us back to go. That will bring us back to dough. Whee!
Okay, a couple of questions. How do you find tuned pots and pans? Do you go to like Williams Sonoma and just play around?
Well, no, actually, I found those over at the Fine Brothers Restaurant Supply. That was when we were doing Sunday in the Park with George, and it actually calls for pots. And I went over there and
go Sondheim.
Yes, Sondheim. And I went over there and but it only called for 3 or 4. But I went over there with a pair of drumsticks and walked up to this guy and said, "Okay, I need to do something that I bet you've never seen before." And he said, "Yeah, right. Lay it on me." I said, "Well, I need to pick out some pots and pans. I got a stick that sound good." And he said, "You're right. I've never come across this before." And we found that the cheaper pots, the aluminum pots, sounded the best.
Did you have to tune them, or are those really the switches that they were? Oh,
that's what they were. And I just bought the whole set, and I just picked out those pitches, and I was able to work out on Wisconsin with how they were tuned.
And how do you tune a rubber chicken?
You don't. I tried so hard to try to figure out a way to tune Rubber Chickens so I could play a tune. And that was the Chickaphone, the one that had a dozen chickens on it.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, of course it's a chicken phone. And I tried stuffing a tissue paper down their throats. I tried doing all sorts of other things. I just couldn't tune them. So we just went from one end to the other. And
fantastic.
That's
great.
It.
Well,
Yeah.
Ding, you're an amazing fixture at Skylight. You've certainly been an inspiration to me since I got there. So look forward to many, 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 many more shows with you in the pit.
Absolutely.
Thank you all for tuning in tonight. We hope we've given you a bit of fun in a world that has lost some. Times are tough for everybody, and we know that everybody is being asked to help in every direction from every corner. We at Skylight have a campaign to try and reach a goal of $60,000 before the end of this month. This is our 60th anniversary year, so 60,000 is a nice round number. Why not go for it? We are partly there, but if you would like to give $60 for our 60 years, we'd really appreciate it. In fact, to show our appreciation, our benefit concert from a few weeks ago, Skylight Sings, a virtual concert, is available on our website. There are many Skylight favorites in the program and some special guests like two-time Tony nominee Kate Baldwin and Dennis Young of Styx fame. Go to our website, easy to donate there. So please give 60 for 60. You can give less than 60 and you can give more than 60. Just as long as there's a 6 in there somewhere. 6, 600, 6,000, 60,000, any number of zeros would be fine, just as long as there's a 6 in there somewhere. So stay safe, stay sound, be good and responsible citizens, and once more, let's make sure we are caring for one another. Thank you for joining us. Good night. Thanks, Ding.
Thank you, Michael.